So there's a topic that's come up a couple of times recently, Richie, and that's how do you breathe when you're being crushed on the bottom? Like if you're on the bottom and you're just getting smushed and you can't breathe, how do you do it? And I've been thinking a lot about this topic because years ago I wrote an article on claustrophobia and jiu-jitsu that really helped a lot of people. So I thought we would share with the people some ideas about how to breathe when you're on the bottom. Now, step one, and it's the least important, is physical conditioning. The better your abs are and the better your cardio is, the more it's going to help. Like if you can run a mile and a half in 8 minutes, you're going to have good cardio. And if your ability to breathe gets cut in half by pressure, you're still going to be able to breathe. Whereas if you get out of breath running around the block, and now I cut off 10% of that breathing, you're really going to suffer. Also, the ab thing, the stronger your abs, the less somebody putting pressure down on your diaphragm and your stomach is going to affect your breathing. I mean, have you even heard of Kyokushin karate guys?
Oh, yeah.
One guy lying here.
Oh, sure.
And they'll start with a foot on the stomach, and then they'll bounce. Go ahead, bounce. And then, when they want to make it tougher, they go with a heel on the stomach.
This is crazy stuff.
Go bounce. And then they'll go with a ball of the foot.
Yeah, this is nuts.
This is going to hurt. Go bounce. Go. So obviously, if I can do this, then it's going to be a little bit easier to survive on the bottom. Like I said, though, it's the least important thing. I think way more important are the technical answers and the psychological answers. For the psychological answer, I don't want to go too much into it because I covered it really in depth in an article called that talked about jiu-jitsu and claustrophobia. If you go to grapplers.com/claustrophobia, you should find it. And a lot of it is just desensitization. A lot of people freak out when they're just covered. This is a comfortable range that we're talking at here.
Absolutely.
But if I was 2 inches away from your face, that would be a weird range because we're not used to interacting with people at that super close range. And so being smothered by another human being can be really uncomfortable. And you can have a disproportionate result. Like you can lose your mind and freak out and panic. I've tapped out giant bodybuilders just by holding them inside mount. I wasn't even putting a ton of pressure on them. It was just the proximity that began to hyperventilate and they tapped out. Now, with desensitization, you can get used to this. And I know actually a couple of professional fighters who dealt with major claustrophobia issues.
Oh, really? Wow.
And then went on to overcome them, have successful fighting careers. I mean, they also had really good escapes by the end, so it was good incentive for them to get their escapes really dialed in. So that's not a bad thing. grapplers.com/claustrophobia for more on that. In terms of the technical things, we were talking about this the other day, a lot of it is not being flat on your back.
I think that's the key thing, Stefan, is being in a position where you can still have your chest expand, right? That's critical.
Yeah, if I'm flat like this and your weight's on me, then all that weight is being borne on my diaphragm. Whereas if I turn sideways slightly, the weight is coming more down on the side of the ribs, which means my diaphragm isn't getting collapsed. Now, there's different ways to do that, I think. One is just put both feet on the ground and turn ever so slightly. It's also what you're supposed to do, say, in half guard. We'll go to half guard here. In general, for most kinds of half guard, I don't want to be flat on my back while you get the cross face and flatten me out here and put weight on me. I want to be up on my side, right? Whether I'm fighting from the overhook or with the overhook or the underhook, I want to be on my side because if you put weight on me here...
Right. It's just on your shoulder.
Yeah, it's just on my shoulder. It's going sideways through my rib cage. It's not a bad thing.
Sure.
And you and I recently trained with Carlos Machado.
Who's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his way of establishing that not flat on your back position was what he called power hips, right? Where one foot is up, either on the ball of the foot or flat, and the other foot is way out to the side.
Right.
Like really quite an open splayed position. And I hope it's okay to show this. We're giving all credit where credit is due. But if you put weight on me, I put it all on my diaphragm here, and it's tough to breathe. Regardless of which way I turn, if I plant a foot and swing the other one out to the other side, or plant the far leg and turn in towards you,
right.
Now it just got so much easier to breathe. Certainly not flat.
Right, you're more turned, and it forces your hip off the ground.
One hip.
Yeah. And then it allows your rib cage to expand instead of being sandwiched between the mat and the other man's chest.
I think the danger that some people misunderstand, they stay bridged continuously, right? They try and get both hips. If one hip off the ground is a bit good,
right,
then two hips off the ground must be better. And then you're just going to burn energy like there's no tomorrow.
Absolutely. You're going to get really, really tired really quick. So you don't want that. You're saying that you don't want that like high bridge arced.
You don't want to stay here with your ass off, both cheeks of your ass off the ground, both hips off the ground for an extended period of time, except in some very, very niche, unique situations. I think of one or two where you want to stay bridged perpetually for a long time, but it's usually to take some pressure off of a neck crank or something.
Sure.
When it comes to techniques to actually be able to breathe on the bottom, here's something interesting that I learned from Walter Lantz back when I was doing judo. And this is really useful, and I've not heard many jiu-jitsu guys talk about it. This is a Ghee. The Ghee is going over my hard to breathe. Right? If the Ghee is over my face, it's hard to breathe. And then we end up in this situation all the time on the ground, right? When the lapels are open or the guy's crushing your chest. So if I've got my mouth just a little bit open like this, it doesn't take much to basically block off the breathing. And then I can't breathe, then I panic. So if you're being covered by a Ghee, you actually want to do, in most cases, the counterintuitive thing and open your mouth as wide as possible. If I've got my mouth completely open, I can still breathe. You're thinking, oh, I can't breathe because something's getting crushed in my face. I better not open my mouth. No, you actually want to open your mouth. And the way you can think about it is you got to breathe through this material. You got to suck air through this material. Wouldn't it be better to suck air through a large amount of material than a little bit of material? So I can think of some times where that one trick of really opening my mouth super wide to keep on breathing, even when I'm getting smothered, has saved my ass. And that might be a useful trick for you to use as well. The only other thing I can think of that's a technical answer, if you can't breathe on the bottom, is don't exhale fully. If I've got weight on Richie, we're just going to go here, hand on the chest. If he breathes fully out, and I've got weight, he's not breathing again.
There's no way.
Exactly. Once you've exhaled fully, there's no way that air is coming back in. So you almost want to breathe shallowly, like breathe from 100% full to 75% full.
Got it.
As opposed to, because if you breathe out fully, and the guy's got his weight right, you're never going to reinflate the lungs.
No, I never even thought of it that way. That's actually a really interesting example that you showed. But I see it very similar to like weightlifting, like doing a deadlift, in the sense that when you lift the weight off the ground, you want to exhale, but you don't want to let all of the air out. You just let a little bit out. You still want that pressure in your diaphragm. Right. You still want to have like about 75% oxygen still in your lungs.
That strong, it's a strong core in a different sense. It's your core full of something,
right?
So they can't get fully crushed down.
Right. That pressure in your abdomen, that pressure in your thorax, you still want to maintain that.